Shisui also having a little brother was something that I feel really tied the story together. It gave more meaning behind Shisui's actions as it showed that there was an even greater cost to doing what he was doing. Before, Shisui was alone. His life, to him, didn't hold that much value besides whatever friendship he had with Itachi. I don't say that to be cruel, but that's just the kind of man Shisui was. His everything was for his people, for his village, and if he could give his life to save it, then there was no hang-up for him. He'd easily do it. That's why adding a little brother changes this, and gives more context to the story and the meaning of his sacrifice. Because now, Shisui's life wasn't meaningless. Now it did have a reason to persevere. While the village, the clan, could benefit and survive without him, Mokugeki could not. And despite his love for his little brother, Shisui had to make a choice that ultimately led to his brother's heart. The one thing Shisui valued as much as his own village. Now Moku is left broken, alone, and the question isn't how he's going to take this, but if he can be saved at all. Welcome to the Amagi. Before we begin, only 25% of our viewers are subscribed, so if you're a fan of the video, please like and double check if you are subscribed. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Sasuke stood there, staring at the boy he had grown up alongside. There was anxiety in his heart. "Moku, you can't do this," he said. The once kind boy that everyone cherished now stood there, a man in almost every sense of the word. Still in his mid-teen years, his eyes glowed with a new light that could never be extinguished. "Don't get in my way, Sasuke," he said, rolling black clouds in the sky behind him. "I can't let you destroy everything. The clan, the village, the whole world could be destroyed by your actions here today if you don't stop." As he stood there, his vesture black, his overcoat covered in blood-red clouds, Moku seemed to grow incredibly angry just at the mention of these things that Sasuke thought should deter him. They didn't. "I do not care in the slightest, Sasuke. I do not care at all what the ramifications or consequences of my actions are here. Let it burn. Let Konoha burn. Let the Uchiha burn. Let the whole world burn. None of it matters to me a bit." "Moku," Sasuke said, his heart breaking. "This isn't what Shisui would want." Moku's fists began to clench. He spoke. "It doesn't matter what Shisui would want. He's not here anymore. I lost my brother for no reason. His sacrifice saved the clan. His sacrifice was avoidable," he snapped. Gripping at his hair as if the thoughts and emotions running through his head were slowly but surely shattering his mind, he began to explain. "My brother is only dead right now because the Uchiha clan decided to rise up against the village. They wouldn't listen to reason. My brother's dead right now because that dirty son of a bitch Danzo couldn't trust him to do what he could to protect the village. My brother is dead because the world relies upon shinobi for everything. For all the talk we make about how bad we hate war and how much we want there to be peace, it's all lies. Hypocrisy that makes me sick to my stomach. Our world can't survive without shinobi. Our entire economy is built upon mercenary contracts and war. You think we can preach about peace and then go straight to war just to put food on our table?" Moku began to laugh. Looking up into the clouds, he spoke again. "I'm so done. I'm done. I don't care what Shisui would want anymore. I don't care about what happens to our clan, to our village, to this stupid planet. I hope we all die. We don't deserve to walk this grass anymore. We don't deserve to build these houses. We don't deserve to have these hearts, hands, minds, and spirits. I want everything just to go away, myself included." Sasuke grit his teeth at the sound of these words. "Why are you making me do this, Moku? You know I can't let you do this." "I'm not making you do anything, Sasuke. The things I plan to destroy are, I will put an end to this village's heads. I will put an end to the clan's heads. I will throw the world into a brand new world war where I alone can and will convince all I see to do the things I want them to do with the power of my Koro Amatsukami. And then, when the world is weak, when every last shinobi's life has been spent, I'll step in, cut off the head of the snake, and reform the world. So few will likely be alive, but so long as 2 people yet live, we can repopulate. And in this new world, there will never be another shinobi." "You've gone mad," Sasuke said. Moku cocked his head as he thought about it. "Perhaps, but I'll see a world of peace, and if I can't, then I'll destroy the world. There will be an end to fighting." Sasuke pulled a tanto from behind his back. I don't even know you anymore, he said. You've let your grief take you over, control you, and now you've become the very thing Shisui fought to save the world from. If you don't stand down, Moku, I'll have no choice but to kill you. I doubt you can kill me, Sasuke, but even if you can, then I welcome it. For better or worse, today I will see the end of war. Whether that be by plunging the world into a war to end all wars, or by breathing my last. Either way, the end of my suffering draws nigh, and I welcome it. He pulled the katana from behind his back. If you can stop me, Sasuke, then do your best, but the moment I connect to the world via satellite television, you will have lost. Sasuke stood there. Where did we go wrong? 9 years earlier. The wind flowed through a thick black mop as a single hand holding an action figure with a cape raced by. Despite the sound of the blowing air, a mouth, lips, and tongue held in a certain shape pushed air through to simulate the sound of rushing wind. Sasuke was running home from school, his small legs traveling across the ground so quickly, yet his stamina leaving him unable to bring to mind whether or not he was feeling tired. So much energy, so much speed, so much endurance, all wrapped up in a nice little bow named youth. Reaching the compound, many of the elderly Uchiha who weren't a part of the shinobi force laughed and waved at the boy as though he might actually see their attempts to bid him a good day. This was the life. It was perfect. Everyone was so happy. Everything was good and smoothed over between the Uchiha and the village. Not a single person was discontent with how things ended. Well, maybe that's a strong way to look at it. To think about it, there was one person. As Sasuke entered his abode, he was met by his mother, who lifted him up into her arms with a little spin, holding the boy high. Sasuke spread his arms and legs out with a laugh as though he were flying, all before Makoto pulled him back down into her arms with a giggle, pressing his little cheek against hers. My baby boy, how was your day at school? It was fantastic. We learned all about the Amagakure Humanitarian Aid Act passed just after the Second Shinobi World War to help the people heal. I didn't know Konoha was such a good village. Makoto giggled and sat the boy down. I'm glad, she said. She moved back toward the kitchen to continue putting the finishing touches on supper. Ooh, what are we eating? Sasuke asked. We're having fried fish and macaroni and cheese. I'm putting the finishing touches on the homemade tartar sauce, she said. Would you do me a favor, Sasuke? She asked. Sure, what is it? Will you go up and get your dad and Moku? It's time to eat. Okay, Sasuke said as he ran upstairs. He washed his hands and told Fugaku about supper. I'll be down shortly, Fugaku said. Sasuke then went into Moku's room. Knocking on the door, he heard a voice. What? Can I come in? Sasuke asked. Do whatever. Sasuke opened the door. The room was dark, and Moku was just laying on the bed, throwing a ball into the air and catching it. Are you coming down for dinner? Sasuke asked. Moku was quiet. Sasuke then spoke again. You know, everyone misses you. At the academy, I mean. They keep asking when you're gonna come back. Moku turned to look at Sasuke, his eyes filled with an uncaring nature. Tell them never. I'm never coming back to the academy. Sasuke seemed saddened by this. I don't understand. Why? Don't you want to become a shinobi like me? Moku shook his head. I hope I never hear the word shinobi ever again. Sasuke looked away. You know, I always hoped we'd end up on the same team together. I thought it would be fun, like when we used to train together. Do you remember? Moku was silent. Do you remember the bear? Moku looked back at Sasuke. I remember it. You almost died, and I was blamed for it. Sasuke smiled. It was still a great time in my life, he said, because we were hanging out together. Moku scoffed. Sasuke slowly walked over to the bed and sat down on it. Sasuke put his hand on Moku's. It'll get better, Sasuke said. As if you would know. You could never confidently say that because you've never gone through it. No, I haven't, but I know people who have, Sasuke said. And they said that even the worst pain dulls with time. Sasuke would stand once again. Just hang in there, Moku. Even if I've never experienced it, I want you to know that things will get better. And even if you feel alone right now, I just want you to know that I love you. Sasuke proceeded to leave Moku's room for supper. As they were downstairs, Fugaku looked at the plate of food sitting by the empty seat. That boy still hasn't left his room? Fugaku asked with a judgmental scoff. We offered him a place to stay. The very least he can do is come downstairs and show a little gratitude. Don't be so hard, Fugaku, Makoto said. Moku's lost a lot. If anyone ever deserved to mope, it's him. I lost things too. We've all lost things. It's the shinobi way. He needs to finally figure that out and grow up. As Fugaku spoke these words, Sasuke looked upstairs and saw Moku standing there at the top, hand on the guide rail, one step down. His eyes held a subtle fire in them, his ears having heard everything. Sasuke just watched as Moku turned around and returned to his room once again. The moping would not be tolerated for much longer after this. Fugaku sat Moku down and told him that it was okay for him to be upset, but that it was time to let it go. Real shinobi didn't cry, and they certainly didn't let something stop them for this long. Even if they were hurting, they kept pushing forward. It was here that Moku made it clear what he thought about shinobi, how he hated that culture. Fugaku was enraged to hear such disrespect, not only for the honorable class of warrior, but was also enraged that Moku could speak so callously about the very profession that Moku's departed brother held. "I think it's time that you go back to the academy. Maybe they can teach you respect better than I." And so Moku was sent back to the Konoha Shinobi Academy to study. He hated it, and because of this, he refused to participate in anything. He refused to listen, he refused to respond when called upon, and he refused to do homework or even answer a single question on a test. This was reflected in his records, to which Moku often was called to the headmaster's office over. When it continued, the headmaster had no choice but to get Moku's guardians involved. Fugaku was displeased. Electing to discipline Moku for his bad behavior, he left him in his bedroom to think about what he had done. It was at about this time that Itachi got back from a mission. He walked in on a conversation between Fugaku and Makoto on the nature of Moku's attitude. Makoto, ever the devil's advocate, attempted to defend Moku, but Fugaku refused to hear it. "What's going on?" Itachi asked. "That little hellion you brought in is doing nothing but shaving years off my life. You better get a hold of him," Fugaku said. "I'm not doing this forever. If he doesn't ship up soon, he's heading up to the nearest foster home." Itachi knew Fugaku didn't mean that. Fugaku was a proud man, and Moku's current attitude was enough to push him over the edge. "I'll talk with him," Itachi said. He headed upstairs to Moku's room to see the boy sitting at a desk, resting on his crossed arms, staring out into the twilight. Itachi knocked on the already open door. "Can I come in?" he asked. "Your house, your rules, right?" Moku asked. Itachi stepped inside and closed the door behind him before finding a place to sit on the boy's bed. "You know, my father is very rough, but he cares deeply for you. He wouldn't have let you stay here if he didn't, and he wouldn't discipline you if he didn't care what kind of man you might become." "He cares a little too much," Moku said. "I don't like the shinobi world. I don't like the shinobi profession. I certainly don't want to be a shinobi." "What would you rather be than a shinobi then?" Itachi asked. "Dead," Moku said flatly. "I may not have any dreams, but I'll tell you the one thing I'll never be, and that's a shinobi. I'm not serving this village or this clan. As far as I'm concerned, both of them can go straight to hell." "Even me?" Itachi asked. Moku was silent. He couldn't answer it. Itachi understood though. "You're still in pain over your loss of Shisui, and I understand how you feel." "You can't," Moku said. "You may have loved Shisui, maybe even seen him like a brother, but unlike you, he actually was my brother." As Itachi sat there, he thought about the truth of these words. Yes, he was but a close friend to me, but for a long time we lived and died together. We went on missions together. I became as close with him as I am with Sasuke, so do not think you alone are suffering from his death. Moku stared silently into the twilight, halfway thinking about what Itachi said, another half attempting to immediately disregard it. Itachi stood and drew closer. His hand on Moku's shoulder, he pushed his finger out towards the horizon in the distance and summoned Wotan, his crow bearing Shisui's eye. "Don't worry, Shisui is still with us, just not as close as he used to be. If you think you're making me feel better, then you're deluding yourself." The crow jumped down to the desk before Moku, its Mokugeki staring into Moku's. Moku was emotionless as he looked into its eyes, his face half given up. Itachi knelt down and did all he thought he could do, which was hug the boy. "I care about you, Moku," Itachi said. "I know it sucks, but I just need you to promise to hold on. Don't let go. You'll be okay." Moku, for Itachi's sake, began to finally try. His grades, though low, were slowly improving, showing a desire to get better. Fugaku expanded his patience with the boy because of this. Struggling through the academy, he continued to avoid making friends. He wasn't feeling up to it. Everything was fine. That was until one day Moku got into a fight with another classmate. He beat the boy brutally and left him in the hospital. He couldn't help that he was frustrated, and the boy he beat just so happened to be unlucky enough to be at ground zero when Moku reached the end of his patience. The boy played a stupid game with him and won a stupid prize, but this was a grave infraction on Moku's part, enough that the headmaster sent Moku to the Hokage's office for discipline. Moku had to wait there for Fugaku and Makoto to deal with him. All the while, Moku couldn't peel his eyes away from Hiruzen, a burning hatred directed toward the man who did nothing to protect Shisui. Fugaku and Makoto eventually made it to the Hokage's office, where Hiruzen sat them down and explained what happened and the possible consequences for Moku's actions that ranged anywhere between criminal charges to expulsion from the academy. Hiruzen promised to pull as many strings for the boy as he could, but he had to admit that things weren't looking good. Taking the boy by the hand in a rather forceful manner, Fugaku halfway dragged him out of the office. Moku's expression only changing when he looked up to see Danzo staring down at him, preparing to enter the office for some secret business with the Hokage. Danzo didn't even seem to acknowledge Moku, but Moku could sense it. Behind that bandage, Shisui's other eye was resting, being used and abused by the man who was chiefly responsible for Shisui's death. He didn't have time to look for too long as Fugaku, face red as blood, dragged the boy home. Once they got into the house, the dam broke.
What were you thinking? Not just getting into a fight with another kid, you almost killed the poor brat.
Moku was silent and looked away from Fugaku for the most part.
Yeah, ignore me. I don't even know why the hell I put up with a little brat like you. Bringing you into my home, letting you sleep in my bed, eat my food, and this is the thanks I get. If it weren't for me, you'd be on the street somewhere. Excuses. That's all anyone ever makes for you. He's sad, he's depressed, leave him alone. He's lost everything. Well, listen here. You're not the only one to ever lose a family member, and not even half of us act as bad as you.
Moku gripped the front of his shorts tightly, his teeth gritting, yet his face attempting not to show emotion.
You know something, Mokugeki? When you actually started trying, I was actually sort of proud of you. I was thinking that you were finally gonna get your act together instead of being ruled by your emotions, but it looks like I was wrong. And now, not only might you face criminal charges, likely court cases and fines that I will have to pay for, but you will also be kicked out of the academy. So kiss whatever chances you had to be a shinobi goodbye.
Good! I never wanted to be a stupid shinobi. I hope I do get expelled. Then I won't have to worry about ever dealing with that damn profession ever again. Fugaku turned his hand on the boy, striking his cheek with an open palm.
I've heard you speak negatively about this honored line of work for far too long. If you don't want to be a shinobi, then fine. I don't think you're worthy of being one. The most likely scenario if you ever became one was that you'd bring shame upon me and upon Shisui. Both of our family names sullied by your worthless hide. But I'll tell you this much, you better come up with a new dream quick, boy, cause I'm not gonna hold your hand through life. I've already hit my limit and I'm halfway to putting you in someone else's care. Maybe they can fix you, cause I'm sick of trying. You're not anything, and so long as you maintain this attitude of yours, you'll never be anything. Now get the hell out of my sight.
Makoto helped Moku up and ruffled his hair. Just go to your room, Moku. Everything's gonna be okay.
Don't coddle him, Makoto, Fugaku said. Nothing will be okay for him until he grows up and puts aside his own personal feelings.
That's rich coming from you, Moku said.
You better watch what you say next, boy.
No, I've listened to your shit long enough, old man. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I blame you for my brother's death. You and your need to rise against the village because a few old people were calling you names. You're a pitiful man, a useless leader, and the very reason why the last person I loved is dead. His cheek red, tears in his angry eyes, he looked back at Fugaku. I hate you. Fugaku knelt down in front of him.
Good. It'll make it easier for the both of us when I set you out.
Fugaku, Makoto said. You can't say something like that to him.
I'll do more than just say it. I'll do it. Go pack your bags, brat. I'm finished with you.
Moku began to make his way upstairs. Makoto watched. I'm not going to let you go through with this, Makoto said, her eyes filled with fire as she looked at her husband.
Watch me, he said, his own eyes filled with fire all their own.
As Moku got to the top of the stairs, he entered his room and slammed the door behind him.
Stupid old man. I hate him. I hate him to death.
I suppose that makes two of us, a second voice said from behind. A shiver shot up Moku's spine. Turning around, he saw a man with a mask waiting on his windowsill. In the only visible orifice on the surface of the mask, Moku thought he saw a Sharingan burning silently. Who are you? Moku asked. Someone who has an interesting proposition for you. Itachi got home late once again. Before he even entered the house, he sensed tension within. Letting out a sigh, he cursed under his breath. Opening the door, he stepped in to see Makoto sitting at the table, none too pleased. "Something up?" he asked her. She didn't even turn to look at him. She just spoke. "Moku and your father went at it again. Things are falling apart," she said. She proceeded to tell Itachi everything that had happened, and what the two had said and done to each other. Itachi rubbed his temples. "All right, let's just try to deal with this situation. You talk Dad down. Surely he doesn't mean any of that. He's always had a temper. Just talk him down and remind him how much he loves Moku, and I'll do the same." Itachi went to the stairs and looked up them. Today it seemed as if there were 3 times as many, but he climbed up anyway. Once at the top, he made his way to Moku's room where he knocked on the door. "Moku, open up. It's Itachi." He waited a moment. "Moku, open up. I'm not mad, I promise. I just want to make sure you're okay. Can you please say anything?" He waited a moment longer before knocking a 3rd time. "Moku!" Getting no response, he sighed. "I'm opening up the door." He began to slide the door open to see a dark room. "Moku?" Turning on the light, he looked around. The room was empty, clothes and toys strewn about, some items missing. "Moku." Walking in closer, he set his foot down on a discarded pajama shirt thrown from the dresser. There was a crunch when his foot rested on it. Startled by it, Itachi stepped back. Slowly kneeling down to the shirt, he grabbed the corner and pulled it aside. There he saw the corpse of a crow, one of its eye sockets empty. "Wotan," Itachi said. There was a certain measure of anger and sadness welling up inside of him, building the more as he thought about Moku, assuming he did this out of rage. This is monstrous, he thought. Looking around though, he realized yet again that Moku was not there. Coming to the window, he looked out and activated his Mokugeki Sharingan to scan the area. There were no signs of Moku. Either he had left a lot earlier than this, or he had covered his tracks so well that he might as well be a ghost. Itachi's fist hit the frame of the window. "Damn it, Moku. Where did you go?" Moku was gone. They never could find him. Even when Fugaku instructed the Konoha police force to search far and wide, no signs ever came up. A guilt began to fill his heart as he remembered the things he said to Moku, how cruel they were. He hadn't meant them, but it didn't mean he didn't say them. Fugaku's anger. His mouth was his greatest weakness, and now he had just alienated someone who, despite everything, was precious to him. It's not that Fugaku never understood what Moku was going through. Moku had been holding on to this pain for a long time. Weeks stretched into months, and later into a year. He had showed no signs of improvement, and he wasn't actively trying to improve either. He was instead displaying a lack of will, echoing out feelings of a person who had given up on life, wasting the time bought for them by their elder brother's sacrifice. Shisui was close with the family, and perhaps they'd been hurting just as much as Moku had been. Moku would have never believed them how bad it hurt, and Moku's actions, his words, brought dishonor to Shisui. The words Moku said that night never left Fugaku. "I blame you for my brother's death. You and your need to rise against the village because a few old people were calling you names. You're a pitiful man, a useless leader, and the very reason why the last person I loved is dead is your fault." There was nothing more that they could do though. They were searching for Moku diligently, but life couldn't stop for this. As sad as Sasuke was to have lost his best friend and adoptive brother, he too had to focus again on his studies. And as time passed, not only did Sasuke become a genin, but after passing the Chunin exams, he was even invited to join the Anbu. This was a golden opportunity for Sasuke, and he couldn't help but take it. But as the years passed without a word from Moku, questions began to arise. Where did he go? Was he safe? Was he alright? Moku never did know how much he was loved, and partially that was because some weren't strong enough or wise enough to know how to show it. And to that end, Moku suffered the way he did. But alas, while the hands of time moved for Konoha, it also moved for Moku. Moku had been taken by the masked man to the Akatsuki. At first, Pain would question the wisdom of bringing a child into their group. That was until Moku spoke for himself. Having been told more about the group by the masked man, Moku explained how he had lost his brother, how he had lost everything, and how he hated the shinobi world and wanted to see it go away, to be replaced by a better world. This just so happened to line up perfectly with Pain's own desires. Was it that Pain simply identified with the kid? Was it that maybe he felt bad for him and wanted to help? Or was it that he saw potential in the child and its unusually powerful dojutsu? We never can really know, but Pain specifically told Moku his beliefs, taking him personally under his wing. He told Moku that the world of shinobi was a dirty one, and one that could only be supplanted by other shinobi. He told Moku that even if he hated the idea of being a shinobi, the only way for him to defeat the shinobi fair and square was to beat them at their own game. Moku agreed. He decided from that point to train under pain until he was strong enough to enact whatever plan they would come up with to put an end to the shinobi world once and for all. And as the years passed, Moku became one of the most powerful shinobi in the Akatsuki, second only to Pain himself and the strange masked man who had brought him here. But even if he was strong, his dream was nowhere near close to fruition. That was until the masked man provided an answer to it. Your dojutsu is one of great power that many would be jealous of, but it has reached nowhere close to its full potential, he said. A Mangekyo Sharingan is a powerful dojutsu, but it can only ever reach its truest power when the eyes of two become the eyes of one. Moku wasn't sure what this meant. That's when the masked man began to show him the eye of Shisui, pilfered from Wotan. This is one half of the power you'll need to bring your plans to fruition. If you wish to complete your mission, you will need the other, and that just so happens to line up with one of your objectives. It was then that Moku understood the point of what he had to do. So, my final test. Kill the bastard who killed my brother. Indeed, if you can reclaim the eye from him, you will gain the power you need. And so, Moku laid in wait for Danzo. When Danzo was himself outside of the village, that was when Moku attacked. Danzo, being elderly, could not contend with Moku's might, and he knew this. But a man wise in the shinobi underworld knows better than to play fair. Danzo had his arm filled with Sharingan, each one of them designed to give him one more chance to avoid the Grim Reaper. But Moku was sharp, and he was strong. Pushing Danzo to his limits, Danzo refused to let Moku kill him. Knowing exactly what it was that Moku craved, Danzo chose to rather kill himself and seal up the Mangekyo in his own head rather than give it to him. And that seemed to be the end of it. Moku would not get the eye, nor would he have the pleasure of killing Danzo himself. Or so he thought, because but a few moments after Danzo died, he found himself standing there yet again. What? He questioned. Moku, standing right before him, one eye gray and dead, spoke. Did you think you were the only one who knew how to use Izanagi? Putting an end to Danzo's life, he claimed the Mangekyo Sharingan and returned home with it. There, he had both the left and right Mangekyo of Shisui implanted into his own head to awaken not only a dojutsu with eternal light, but also a greater version of the Koro Amatsukami he had once known. No longer straining his Mangekyo or chakra, nor fearing the loss of ability in his eyes from overuse, he mastered the Susanoo, bringing it to the armored level. Now, once he had gained enough experience with his greatest abilities, his plan was formulated. The masked man told Moku that his greatest ability would be using the technology the world had developed against them. With satellite television, creature comforts were beginning to reach a whole new level, and that would be their downfall, something nearly everyone would have access to. With it, he could address the world and cast his genjutsu upon them. Through it, he could convince the world that it was all their decision to go to war with each other. And as the world warred, the Akatsuki would sit back, waiting for the perfect chance to strike. Or so Pain thought. No, Moku never planned to get the tailed beasts. This was never meant to be a distraction for the Akatsuki. This was Moku pouring gasoline on the world and striking the match. The world would be burned to cinders, with only a few surviving who could repopulate, who could teach war no more. Souls who, even having gazed into the Koro Amatsukami, had enough willpower to resist the urge to war. And should it be that all souls were lost to the war, then this world didn't deserve to live any further. And so, with this power, Moku headed back to the village. Fugaku was only now getting home, a thunderstorm appearing in the distance, threatening the village with a deluge of water that had not been seen the entirety of the rainy season. Entering his study, he prepared to file some important information about an upcoming operation that the Uchiha would jointly take with the Hyuga in regards to Kumo's meddling with their clans. But the moment he entered his study, he was shocked to see a man standing there already. At first, he didn't recognize the boy until their striking resemblance to Shisui showed through. Moku? Fugaku questioned. The boy looked into Fugaku's eyes with a lazy anger that said he barely had the bandwidth to hate him anymore. Yet, hatred remained, even if it was a conscious chore. Justice was a burden sometimes. Fugaku spoke. It's been so long. Suddenly, memory of everything he had said to Moku struck Fugaku all at once, reminding him of the shame he felt. Look, Moku, that night a decade ago, the last time we spoke, I was just angry. I promise I didn't mean what I said to you. Is that supposed to be an apology? Moku asked. Fugaku looked down and away. Yes, I shouldn't have said those things to you. Are you apologizing because you feel bad? Or is it because you're old and feeble and intimidated by my strength? Fugaku shook his head. I'm sure you've become strong, Moku, but my apology comes from a place of remorse for what I did to you. I didn't expect you to really leave us. It was all just bluster, designed to scare you straight. I never wanted you gone. You meant a lot to me. I just could never express it to you, so I'm sorry. Moku stepped forward. I forgive you, Fugaku, he said, letting the old man hug him, for what you said to me that night only. Suddenly, a katana passed through the area just above Fugaku's left arm. Fugaku was shocked, blood beginning to drip from his mouth, his eyes closing in pain as Moku jerked the blade about, totaling Fugaku's internal organs. Ripping the blade out, he pushed Fugaku back and let him fall to the ground. Kneeling over the old man, he spoke. Your apology for what you said that night to me is accepted, but every word I spoke to you was the truth, and I will not apologize for it, ever. I hate you, Fugaku. I hate you more than any man yet living because you, along with the recently deceased Danzo, were the sole perpetrators of the event that saw my brother dead. I didn't mean for it to... Fugaku tried to say. Moku scoffed. Don't act like you cared. If it weren't for me taking up the reins my brother left behind, there would be no Konoha anymore. No Uchiha clan. Fugaku's eyes widened. That's right, Fugaku. I cast Kodo Amatsukami on you. I made you change your mind. If I hadn't, you would have marched Konoha into a meat grinder. And you want to know how I feel about it? Moku leaned in closer to speak in Fugaku's ear. I feel sick over it. Fugaku turned to look Moku in the eyes. Moku rose back to his feet. I regret what I did that night. I regret dissuading you. I wish I had told you to go to war. I wish I had told Konoha to self-destruct from the inside out and let the world fight over our carcass. If possible, maybe the world would have ended. But I had to honor my brother's wish. But now my brother isn't here. It's only me. And this world wasn't worthy of my brother. It wasn't worthy of me either. This world is not worthy of anything. All that it's worthy of is death. And so I plan to put the whole world on trial. A trial by fire. The world will cull itself until only the best souls remain. Those souls will repopulate and will strike from the records any and every war that ever occurred, only remembering the final world war, the war that brought humanity to its knees. And then, only then, will the people be worthy of walking this planet. You're insane, Fugaku said. Moku scoffed. Maybe I am, but at the same time, I don't care. If this world is to survive, it must abandon the concept of shinobi and war in general. And if it cannot do that, then it no longer deserves to exist. You are the first to fall, Fugaku. You failed this test a long time ago, and only now are you getting what you deserve. 10 years of peace, more than you ever deserved. Goodbye, Fugaku, and when you get to hell, give Danzo my regards. Moku left through the window. It wasn't long after that Fugaku was discovered by Sasuke. Dad, Sasuke called out, tossing his face mask to the side. What happened? Fugaku began to explain to Sasuke everything that occurred, about Mokugeki and what he was planning to do. You have to stop him, Sasuke. You and Itachi are the only ones who can. Please. Fugaku perished. The sorrow from losing his father coursing through him, Sasuke awakened his Mangekyo Sharingan. Rushing out of the village, he decided to head to where Moku would most likely go, the Hokage's office. By the time he got there, he was already too late. Hiruzen was dead, and the only one there was Itachi, the one who discovered the body. It was here that Sasuke informed Itachi of everything he heard from Fugaku, and Itachi returned the favor by explaining exactly what Moku's plan was, involving the Kodo Amatsukami, something he learned from Hiruzen. It seems that Moku is lost in his emotions, Itachi said. He's no longer acting out of logic, but emotion only. He needs to let the people he kills know why they're dying and what he's going to do. It's all to scratch an itch. We need to stop him, Itachi. Itachi nodded. I have a plan. Sasuke chased down Mokugeki, stopping on a rooftop near the TV station. As he stood there, staring at the boy he had grown up alongside, there was an anxiety in his heart. Moku, You can't do this, he said. The once kind boy that everyone cherished now stood there, a man in almost every sense of the word. Still in his mid-teen years, his eyes glowed with a new light that could never be extinguished. Don't get in my way, Sasuke, he said, rolling black clouds in the sky behind him. I can't let you destroy everything. The clan, the village, the whole world could be destroyed by your actions here today if you don't stop. I do not care in the slightest, Sasuke. I do not care at all what the ramifications or the consequences of my actions are here. Let it burn. Let Konoha burn. Let the Uchiha burn. Let the whole world burn. None of it matters to me a bit. Moku, Sasuke said, his heart breaking inside. This isn't what Shisui would want. Moku's fists beginning to clench, he spoke. It doesn't matter what Shisui would want. He's not here anymore. I lost my brother for no reason. His sacrifice saved the clan. His sacrifice was avoidable, Moku snapped. My brother is only dead right now because the Uchiha clan decided to rise up against the village. They wouldn't listen to reason. My brother is dead right now because that dirty son of a bitch Danzo couldn't trust him to do what he could to protect the village. My brother is dead because the world relies upon shinobi for everything. For all of the talk we make about how bad we hate war and how much we want there to be peace, it's all lies. Hypocrisy that makes me sick to my stomach. Our world can't survive without shinobi. Our entire economy is built upon mercenary contracts and war. You think we can preach about peace and then go straight to war just to put food on our table? Moku began to laugh. Looking up into the clouds, he spoke again. I'm so done. I'm done. I don't care what Shisui would want anymore. I don't care about what happens to our clan, to our village, to this stupid planet. I hope we all die. We don't deserve to have these hearts, hands, minds, and spirits. I want everything to go away, myself included. Sasuke grit his teeth at the sound of these words. Why are you making me do this, Moku? You know I can't let you do this. I'm not making you do anything, Sasuke. The things I plan to destroy are, I will put an end to this village's heads. I'll put an end to the clan's heads. I will throw the world into a brand new world war where I alone can and will convince all I see to do the things I want them to with the power of my Konoha Tsukami. And then, when the world is weak, when every last shinobi's life has been spent, I will step in, cut off the head of the snake, and reform the world. So few will likely be alive. But so long as 2 people yet live, we can repopulate. And in this new world, there will never be another shinobi. You've gone mad, Sasuke said. Perhaps, but I'll see a world of peace. And if I can't, then I'll destroy the world. There will be an end to fighting. Sasuke pulled a tanto from behind his back. I don't even know you anymore, he said. You've let your grief take over you, control you, and now you've become the very thing Shisui fought to save the world from. If you don't stand down, Moku, I'll have no choice but to kill you. Moku began to laugh. I doubt you can kill me, Sasuke. But even if you can, then I welcome it. For better or worse, today I will see the end of war. Whether that by plunging the world into a war to end all wars, or by breathing my last. Either way, the end of my suffering draws nigh, and I welcome it. He pulled the katana from behind his back. If you can stop me, Sasuke, then do your best. But the moment I connect to the world via satellite television, you will have lost. Sasuke stood there. Where did we go wrong? Where you went wrong was stubbornness. The village, the clan, the world. They don't deserve to exist anymore. Not after what I've witnessed. Sasuke then spoke. If you want to reach that television station, then you're going to have to kill me, he said, his Sharingan turning to Mokugeki. Mokugeki's face took on a more stern look. I suppose this was inevitable. The least I can do for my childhood friend is finish what that bear started years ago. The two launched into combat. As their eyes met, Moku tried to scan it, as if he could gain the knowledge of what the ability could do. That was when he sensed chakra building up in Sasuke's eyes. Moku dodged just in time to see black flames appear from them. Oh, black flames! A rare ability only ever achieved by a certain bloodline. You do surprise me, Sasuke. Stepping back, Mokugeki would activate his Susanoo, a large, brilliant, imperial jade-colored armored avatar. Moku, standing in the center, dared Sasuke to try and stand up against him. Sasuke attempted to attack from a distance, but Moku's avatar was just too tough. Come on, Sasuke. I see those Mangekyo of yours. The only way for you to defeat a Susanoo is with another Susanoo, he shouted. Sasuke attempted to activate his Susanoo, but instead of forming an avatar like Moku, all Sasuke could manage was a small, claw-like arm attached to half a ribcage. "How pathetic," Moku said, "but all the same, it's no surprise. You've only just awakened it. It takes..." Suddenly, there was a large explosion, the building that was the television station having been evacuated and destroyed by another figure. Itachi had ended the immediate threat, but now he needed to deal with Moku as well. So he headed in the direction of the battle. Upon reaching it, he saw Moku's Susanoo standing there, gripping Sasuke. Sasuke grunted, his face contorted in pain as his body was slowly being crushed by the Susanoo. "Moku, put him down!" Moku looked at Itachi. "If that's what you want, big brother." The thumb of the Susanoo positioned itself below Sasuke's chin and extended forward, snapping Sasuke's neck. Dropping Sasuke like a broken toy, the Susanoo turned to face Itachi. Itachi's eyes looked at Sasuke, tears filling them as he looked back to Moku. "How could you?" Itachi asked. "He was your best friend," he said. "He's a shinobi. He made that clear to me. He chose this village over me. He was no longer worthy of being called my friend, and I see you've made the same choice. Moku, I'm sorry about your loss. If I knew you were suffering like this, I would've..." "You would have what, been around more?" "No, Itachi, you're as much responsible for my brother's death as anyone else. He was your responsibility. Where were you when he was attacked? Why weren't you there? Why didn't you stop him from killing himself? All you did was stop me from saving him." "I stopped you from killing yourself," Itachi shouted. As the thunder began to roll across the sky, the clouds began to let loose their water, as though the heavens were crying. "Maybe you shouldn't have," Moku said, "but I suppose the past is in the past. We can't change it now. All we can do is make it right," Moku said. "My greatest mistake was stopping the Uchiha clan from turning on Konoha, and your greatest mistake was not letting me die that day. Now, one of these mistakes will be rectified. But which will it be? Make your decision, Itachi, because if you don't, I will." Moku's Susanoo pulled out its weapons. Itachi took a deep breath and looked toward the skies. The rain falling upon his face, he closed his eyes and thought about what he had to do. Summoning his will, he called upon his own armored Susanoo. The two stood there, facing each other. "I'm sorry," Itachi said. "You want me to forgive you?" Moku asked. "No, I wasn't apologizing to you." A moment later, their Susanoo clashed. As the massive chakra mechs clashed, Itachi poured all of his hatred, all of his anger and aggression into his attacks. But for a split second, he decided to give in to the curse of hatred, letting it fuel his movements and attacks. Moku was strong, very strong, but Itachi was far older, and though his abilities were less seductive than the lies of Kodo Amatsukami, they were more combat-based. Itachi simply had more experience, and further, it didn't help that Itachi's Susanoo possessed abilities that some might say made it invincible. His Yada Mirror could counter any jutsu that Moku threw at it, and his Amaterasu allowed for him to do massive damage to an opposing Susanoo. In the end, he managed to shatter Moku's Susanoo with a strong strike. Moku was sent flying. Rolling along the surface of the roof, he laid there for a moment. Leaving his Susanoo behind, Itachi began to slowly draw closer to Moku. Standing over the boy he had sworn to protect, he held his blade. Kneeling down, he pinned Moku's arms with his knees and sat back upon his legs to keep him immobile, lowering the blade, touching it to Moku's chest. "Do it, Itachi," Moku said. "Do it! Kill me!" Itachi shook his head. "No, Moku, I don't want to do this. I promised that I would protect you. I promised Shisui. And you failed. You failed the moment you refused to let me protect him." "I'm not perfect, Moku," Itachi shouted. "I never wanted Shisui to die. I didn't know how to stop him. You blame everyone for Shisui's death, but you refuse to see the truth. The person who killed Shisui was Shisui. The poison in his system, it could have been cured. The eye he lost, it could have been retrieved. But what happened that day was Shisui casting a bet, betting on you, betting that you could and would be able to replace him. But the only thing that could save the clan and the village was your Kodo Amatsukami, and the only way to get this to work was to awaken your Mangekyo, and the only thing that could awaken it— "Shut up," Moku demanded. "I didn't care about the clan. I didn't care about the village. I didn't care about the world. I just wanted my brother." Tears ran down Moku's enraged face. "And Shisui wanted more than anything for there to be a place in this world for his little brother to live peacefully." Itachi tossed his blade to the side. "I promised your brother that I'd protect you. And believe me, I tried. I may have failed to protect you, but I sure as hell won't kill you. Even if you killed my brother and my father, because I still love you, Moku. And even though you've done what some might consider to be the most unforgivable things, I choose to forgive you, because I care for you and I want you to be happy. Itachi then stood and got off of Moku. Moku then quickly crawled over and got Itachi's tanto. Pointing it at Itachi, he exclaimed, "I'll kill you!" Itachi looked down for a moment and then spoke. "If that's what will make you happen, then be my guest, but leave the rest of the village alone, for your brother's sake at least." Itachi turned around and began to walk away. Moku gasped in exasperation. A moment later, he turned the blade on himself and committed harakiri. Itachi looked back for only a moment before turning away again. Walking away, he left his promise on the roof. He had failed Shisui. He had failed his father, the Hokage, even Sasuke. Most of all, he failed Moku. The village would survive. It always did, but it would never be the same. From a distance, the masked man watched it all unfold. How disappointing. The day after, the village mourned, but time waited on no one. With the Hokage dead, a new replacement needed to be chosen, and the most logical option was the wisest of them all, which they decided was Itachi. Collecting the body of Moku, he chose to have it destroyed, so that none would ever use the power of the Koro Amatsukami again. He would spread the ashes in the Naka River. After all, Moku loved nobody like he loved Shisui, and it only seemed right that the two should be reunited once more. As the waves washed away the ashes, Itachi stood there. The nature of war, even if Moku had succeeded, would have never changed. Moku was a grieving child, and due to this, he never understood the truth. Wherever man was, as long as man was fallible, they would always resort to war, because war is a basic trait. From the days of Cain and Abel, man has warred for their own selfishness against even those they loved. And until man's evil nature is eradicated, such would the world remain. And that's where I plan to call it quits. Now I'm gonna go ahead and address something I know that the comments will ask, and it will be, what happened to Moku's other Mangekyo he didn't use? Can't the masked man just use that? And the answer is no. The reason is twofold. First, there's no guarantee that Moku didn't die with both sets. Some believe that the Mangekyo don't just replace one another, but they fuse. But even if you're not a believer in this theory, the truth is, Moku's Mangekyo were exactly the same as Shisui's, and my intentions were, when Moku used Izanagi, he used it on the eye that would not require a 10-year cooldown. So even if the masked man did have access to that Mangekyo, it would basically be useless to him, considering his base Sharingan visual prowess was high enough to ensnare even Yagura, who was a perfect Jinchuriki, which are supposed to be basically Genjutsu proof. So this isn't a plot hole or a loose thread, I simply just don't believe the Sharingan, even if the masked man did have it, would be any use to him. So I'm hoping that gives you a solid answer to something quite a few of you will likely be questioning. Sadly, this story was really depressing, but it was planned to go this way from the start. From part 1, I had already mapped out the ending of part 2 and was just waiting to see if you would all want it. And so here it is, a big tall mug of Depresso Espresso, just for you. I hope you enjoyed this story. If you did, be sure to let me know down in the comments exactly what you thought, and let me know any other cool ideas you might have for future videos like this. I'm always looking for more ideas, so feel free to share, and you might just see your idea explored next. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to be notified of our latest videos as they drop, and just in case you crave a little more, here's some other great videos from our channel. I hope you enjoy them. Anyway, until next time, my friends, peace out.